Thank you very much, everyone. It is great to be back in beautiful British Columbia. As I said at the outset, we used to love to vacation here as kids, and including here in Surrey. And I always remember my friends, my parents' friends, who were welcoming us here. They could afford homes. They felt safe. Life was affordable and optimistic. And my folks would tell me that if I worked hard enough, one day I could even have a little cabin or cottage in beautiful BC. And that was the kind of optimism we grew up with in Canada. A beautiful, hopeful future. It was the deal, simple deal. You work hard, you get a great life. And I think that my friends who are here with me today would agree. Sukhman Gill, our Member of Parliament for Abbotsford, South Langley. Sukhman, thank you very much for being here, and congratulations on your election. Candidate Sukh Pander, and of course Jesse Sahota, not only a candidate but also a police officer and a wrestling coach. He is acting as security for me here today. Look at the shoulders on this guy, strong guy. And they grew up with the same hope and the same deal in Canada. You work hard, you get a great life, and that's why people come to this country. But after 10 years of Liberals, everything costs more. It's impossible for our youth to afford homes. Single mothers wonder how they'll feed their kids. Food price inflation is on the rise again. We saw it just today. We see Liberals have not only doubled the national debt, they have doubled the housing costs, doubled food bank lineups, and doubled gun crime. Here we are today at a location that was the victim of one of those very crimes. Let me read from Red FM. Surrey Police Service officers are investigating a shooting incident at the Royal King Banquet Hall located in the Pale Business Centre. According to police, damage to the exterior of the banquet hall was discovered by staff at 1 a.m. on July 21st, 2025, where it was confirmed that the damage was consistent with gunfire. So this is just one of the many examples of the 330% increase in extortion-related crimes since Liberals lowered the penalty for extortion. They removed mandatory prison sentences for extortion with a gun. No wonder crime is raging out of control. Crime, costs, immigration, housing prices are all out of control after 10 years of Liberals, and Mark Carney promised to be different. Instead, everything is worse. The deficit is worse under Carney than it was under Trudeau. The crime is rising under Mark Carney. Our economy is falling, with $60 billion of net investment fleeing our country since he became Prime Minister. Not a single new pipeline, so not a single new proposal for an LNG plant or nuclear plant or port expansion has been made since Mark Carney took office, promising that he was going to reverse weak Liberal economic policies. In fact, he has given a gift to President Trump, as $60 billion of Canadian investment has fled the country in less than the half a year since Mr. Carney took office. And speaking of trade, he promised he could handle Trump. He said that he could negotiate a winning deal. So far, American tariffs have doubled on Canada, and we're now losing a trade war with China, which is hammering our farmers and fish harvesters. As Mark Carney fails abroad, Canadians pay the price here at home. And nowhere is this more true than in the area of crime and chaos. Mark Carney has not only failed to change a single Liberal law he sent his MPs home for the summer with crime up, inflation up, the deficit up, and elbows down, and not a one action taken to reverse the Liberal crime chaos that we came to expect under his predecessor. And he put in charge of crime his two most incompetent ministers. First, he's got Sean Fraser as the Justice Minister. This is the immigration minister who caused the immigration crisis, and the housing minister who caused the housing crisis. And now because of those failures, he's in charge of law and order. And then he's got a public safety minister who doesn't even know what a gun license is. So how can he fight gun crime? The incompetence that you have to have as a prime minister to name such terrible ministers would be laughable if it weren't so terrifying, because the people behind me today are paying the price for this insanity. And that is why Conservatives are setting our priorities for the fall session. We want stronger take-home pay that buys more affordable goods, Safer communities by locking up criminals. Secure borders with immigration that is under control and drugs and guns kept out of our country. And a self-reliant Canada that produces more of its own goods and reaches overseas markets so that we're no longer so helplessly reliant on one market. That is our priority. Stronger take-home pay, safer streets, secure borders, a self-reliant Canada. And that is what we will be fighting for in the fall session. But it starts with safety. And that's why today I am announcing a Conservative action plan to counter the Liberal extortion crisis. Number one, we're calling on the government to immediately list the Bishnoi gang as a terrorist organization. The Bishnoi gang has been terrorizing communities, shooting up neighborhoods, extorting our people, and taking the money out of our country. There's evidence now that their violence is linked to terror and to political motivations. This is why numerous mayors and premiers, including Mayor Patrick Brown from Brampton, have called for this group to be listed as a terrorist body. Doing so would allow police to arrest anyone who raises money, organizes, plans, does logistics or recruitment, and put those people in jail, or if they are non-Canadians, kick them out of this country. Next, we are calling for jail and not bail by repealing Liberal Law C-75 and Liberal Law C-5, that we will ensure that offenders who engage in extortion go to jail. They are not automatically released again and again through the revolving door. Finally, we're calling for the adoption of our Deputy Leader Tim Uppal's bill making mandatory prison sentences for extortion. First offense will be minimum 4 years. If it's with a gun, it will be 5 years and up to 7, and it will be an aggravating offense if the extortion involves the use of fire. So this action plan will help us to become more secure. And I would add Michelle Rempel's bill. She's announcing, she's bringing in a bill saying that immigration status should not be used by judges to reduce the sentences of convicted criminals. You know, the other day we had a judge who said, well, this individual is a non-Canadian, and if they get a high conviction, they'll be deported from the country. Well, that's what we want. If someone commits a crime when they're here as a visitor, we want them to do a sentence in prison and then get the hell out of Canada. We don't want to keep criminals in our streets. We don't want to invite criminals to our country. Every single criminal who visits our country and is a non-Canadian should be quickly deported from our country. The Liberals, under Mark Carney, have lost track of 600 convicted criminals who are wandering our streets committing even more crime. These are not even Canadian citizens. We need to bring back an immigration system that brings in only the right people in the right numbers. People who lawfully enter our country and follow all the rules are welcome to contribute, but only in the numbers we can absorb, and only law-abiding, hardworking people need to be allowed into our country. That is the approach that Conservatives will take. Again, our priorities for the fall session are to bring in stronger take-home pay that buys you more, safer streets with criminals behind bars, secure borders with immigration that is under control and lawful, and fourth and finally, a self-reliant Canada, a Canada where we produce our own goods, we export to markets around the world, no longer dependent on the Americans. By the way, I heard that Mark Carney is celebrating today that he set up yet another bureaucracy. This is his answer to the American tariffs. He's going to create a new office. Mr. Carney, we don't need more bureaucrats and offices in Ottawa. We don't need to build an office. We need to build pipelines, mines, LNG plants, nuclear plants. Not one of those projects has been proposed since Mark Carney took office. And that is why our Sovereignty Act, the Canadian Sovereignty Act that Conservatives are proposing, will repeal the anti-energy laws, make this the fastest place to get a permit, end capital gains tax when you reinvest the money in Canada to bring back the hundreds of billions of dollars of investment that the Carney Liberals have lost our country, bring it back to Canada, make this a strong, self-reliant country for a change. That is our purpose. That is our mission. Now, let's get to work. Thank you.
Now taking questions from the floor. Good morning, Mr. Poilievre. My
Good
name is
morning.
Parmeet Kamra from Omni News and City as well.
Yes, Prameet.
My question is about the violence and the extortion which you have talked about. So the extortion wave which has gripped the city of Surrey as well as Canada, it has everyone in fear. Extortion victim Satish Kumar, he has hosted one community meeting, community forum as well, to highlight the real fear. My question to you is, what federal envision you have, or what do you propose to protect these vulnerable small businesses who are repeatedly targeted right now?
Thank you very much for your question. And I called Satish when he had his town hall. I wanted to be here. The answer is we need to reverse the liberal laws that have caused this chaos in the first place. Liberals passed C5, which lowered the penalty for extortion with a gun. What do you know? Now we have more extortion with guns. Then they brought in C75, catch and release bail. So the same extortionists who get caught are released within hours to go and do extortion all over again. Third, they ruined our immigration system, so we no longer screen for criminal records in other parts of the world. So people are able to come in with criminal records and carry out crime on behalf of the Bishnoi Group and other global crime networks. So our plan repeals catch and release bail, brings in mandatory jail time for repeat offenders, and ensures that we have a ban on the Bishnoi terrorists so that this network of extortionists and terrorists are automatically criminalized, their members are locked up, and those who are not citizens of Canada should be kicked out. We need to track down the 600 criminals that are non-Canadians that Liberals have allowed to run free in our streets, and they need to be deported from this country so they can no longer harm our people. It's time for us to put Canada first and put law-abiding citizens ahead of criminals. Thank you.
Hi, Mr. Poilievre.
Yes.
Congratulations
Thank you
on
very
your
much,
winning,
sir.
And it's good to see you back in action.
It's great to be back in action.
Samir
Thanks for
Kaushal
being
here from
Go ahead.
Swift Radio, 1200 AM and News Derby. My question to you that, as you mentioned, that you are calling the government to designate Bishnoi Group or individual Lawrence Bishnoi as a terrorist entity or terrorist organization in Canada. There are so many premiers, those who have raised the same issue, and they want this individual to be designated as a terrorist here on this Canadian soil. How will you ensure that a person who is 14,000 kilometers away, imprisoned in a foreign jail, if the government designates that person or entity as a terrorist organization over here, how will that improve the law and order situation here? And before making this statement, have you checked with the law enforcement agencies whether they are, making any kind of charges on him or any of his subordinate or any person associated to his group?
Yes, so thank you very much for your question. First and foremost, you're quite right. Mr. Bishnoi himself is in a prison in India, but his network is wide and vast. His organization takes orders from him and carry out extortions and other crimes around the world. Now, how will banning the organization of a man who's already in a foreign jail make a difference? What it would do is it will allow police to charge anyone who here in Canada raises money, recruits, organizes, plans, facilitates, or in any way helps this organization do its work. And that would shut down an international extortion network that has terrorized communities like Surrey, Brampton, Northeast Calgary over the last 7 years. Law enforcement has spoken out about the organized chaos and violence this group has done in our country, and that is why mayors across the country, premiers, have also said that based on the police intelligence and information they have received, this organization should be put on the list of banned terrorist entities. They should be shut down. It's those who are here as visitors and are non-Canadians should be kicked out, and those that are Canadians that are cooperating with this terrorist group should be jailed.